Why should a quill pen help us to understand computers? Well, these pupils at Kettlethorpe School, Wakefield, are just beginning to answer that question. They've begun by investigating the progress made by a more familiar technology, the development of writing. The idea behind the scheme is that by appreciating the changes that took place in the past, these pupils at Kettlethorpe will be better equipped to cope with the rapid technological changes that are happening now.
I bet you're glad we don't still have that method, aren't you?
The typewriter brings us up to date and, indeed, till a few years ago would have meant the end of this technological story. But there have been new developments in writing technology.
Quite on it, this was very good. Smashing. Along very nicely.
Because we can now type directly onto a computer. And it's this little machine sitting quietly on the classroom desk that the class will be asked to consider next.
The next development in technology that I want you to think about, the implications of it, is a computer. We've brought the school computer into here this morning, so I'd like you to turn around and just have a look at it, familiarise yourselves with just what it looks like for a start. It's a very small machine, and I wonder if any of you have thought about the fact that there are worries and fears connected with the coming of the computer. Any of you thought of any fears or worries? Elaine?
People are scared that the computer will take over the jobs and make them redundant.
And what would that mean to them?
They'll have no pay coming in
So it's going to be a financial worry,
and mental. They won't have nothing to do.
and they'll have nothing to do. Do you feel it is going to do away with jobs? John, what would you like to tell me about that?
Well, at the moment they're making cars and they've got this new Fiat Strada. They say it's made by robots, and that's put a lot of people out of jobs because they could make them just as well.
The pupils at Kettlethorpe are not alone in being fearful of the new technology. The trouble is that it's often presented as a mysterious threat to mankind, yet people are using them every day as a matter of course.
Would you like to stay somewhere in Bangkok, sir? Where would you like to stay?
The travel agent uses the computer as a valuable tool. It helps him, and it certainly helps the customer, because the computer can present a lot of complicated travel and accommodation information instantly. If all this information was in book form, it would take an age to sort through. In fact, wherever we choose to look, the chances are we'll find some aspect of the new technology at work. Powering this Casio portable electronic organ with a complete built-in range of musical effects. This is the IBM display writer. In fact, display writer is a much more reassuring term than the cold and threatening phrase word processor. The operator types directly onto a screen. When the typing task is completed, the operator can check for errors, add to or remove parts of the copy before instructing the machine to print out a word-perfect memo or letter. This computer is helping a young fabric designer. The screen is showing her what colour and pattern designs will occur when the dyed wool is knitted in a particular combination. In fact, all the examples we've seen, including this computer-controlled milling machine, rely on people to make them work properly. The one clear message behind the new technology is that the earlier we get involved, the better. And that means everyone, artists, managers, workers and pupils. If we're informed, then there's less reason to be fearful. Armed with a bit of information, we'll be in a better position to deal with the alarmist propaganda which seems to surround the subject.
Just had a message from Halifax.
So many jobs use computers nowadays that it may be worth considering what life would be like without them. Or more precisely, without this, the microchip. Packed into this tiny piece of silicon on the end of a man's finger is the sort of power that 15 or so years ago would have filled a 5-metre square room. If we look at a chip working under a very high-powered microscope, we can see a network of connecting lines of activity, rather like a railway system. What scientists have done is reduce a complex electrical circuit thousands of times, integrate it and fit it onto a tiny chip of pure silicon. Here we can see electrical pulses slowed down and highly magnified. They're like freight trains carrying information from one part of the computer to another, but doing these journeys in millionths of seconds. It's this speed of response, coupled with increasing miniaturization, that makes computers so formidable. What is a computer and what does it do? A computer needs a device to put information and instructions into it. This is called the input device. Next comes the main part of the computer, called the central processor. Finally, there's a device which gives out information from the computer. This is called the output device. The central processor has 3 parts. The control unit, which carries out the instructions given to the computer, a memory or store where information and instructions can be kept, and each part of the store is given a name to identify it so that information can easily be found. Then there's an arithmetic unit, which does the calculations. The way the computer works can be shown by imagining a person sitting at a desk with an in tray, the input, and an out tray, the output. In front of the person's a set of pigeonholes, the memory, and on the desk is a calculator, the arithmetic unit. The person at the desk is the control unit. This person obeys instructions received in the input unit. Now we'll feed a simple program to this computer. The first instruction says, put 7 in store A. The next instruction is, put 15 in store B. Another instruction can be given, such as add the contents of store A to those in store B and print the result. Control takes card from A, punches 7 in calculator and returns card to A. The card from B punches 15 in calculator, returns card. Punches equal and places in out tray. There are a number of ways in which information and instructions can be given to the computer. Here are some of them. A card reader. Information and instructions are fed in by means of cards with holes punched in them. A tape reader. Here, holes are punched into a strip of paper tape. A teletype. Here, as we've seen, the instructions and information are typed into a machine which looks like a typewriter, and this sends the messages direct to the computer. In the cards and punch tape, we see examples of binary systems. Binary means 2, and these are called binary because there are 2 states for every position. At each position you can punch a hole or leave it alone. You can call a hole 1 and no hole 0. Some other examples of binary systems are Morse code. This is made up of a series of dots and dashes. A is dot dash. B is dash dot dot dot. C is dash dot dash dot. D is dash dot dot. Braille is used to help blind people read. It works on a pattern of 6 points in this pattern. Each point can be raised or left flat, 2 states. A is, B is, C is. Each letter and number 0 to 9 is represented like this, and blind people can recognize them by touch. The computer uses a binary system because it works by a series of electrical or magnetic pulses. The electricity can be on or off, 2 states. And the end of a magnet is either a north pole or a south pole, 2 states again. When cards or tape are read, a light shines onto them and there's a photoelectric cell the other side. If there's a hole, the light shines through to the cell and sends a pulse, same as light on. If there's no hole, it's the same as the light off. The paper tape used has 8 channels where holes can be punched. Then A is 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. B is 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. C is 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, etc. Each 0 or 1 is called a bit, B-I-T, binary digit. And a collection of 8 bits is called a byte, B-Y-T-E. Thus, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0 is a byte. Well, those were drawings. What have we got here?
Well, we've got a small microcomputer consisting of various parts, the keyboard, the TV screen, and the computer with its storage, file storage of floppy disks. This is a small floppy disk. It's just like a small record made of plastic on which we record information. Files are stored on there in addition to programs. The machine is switched on by the on key, and we get a small message on the screen.
A computer needs some operating instructions before it can do any work. If we want to add 7 and 15 together, we can't just type 7, add 1, 5, equals on the computer keyboard. The computer won't understand the instruction at all. What we have to do is enter the information in a language the computer can understand. And this sequence of information or instructions is called a program. Here's a program for 7, add 15. Because it's a step-by-step process, each instruction is numbered. At the completion of an instruction, the return key on the computer is pressed before moving to the next instruction. So, type in line number 1. Input A. Press return key. Input means the number we're putting in. Line number 2. Input B. Return key. Our second number, B, is added to A. Line number 3. C equals A, add B. Return key. The answer C is produced by adding A to B. Line number 4. Print C. Return key. Print tells the computer to display the answer to the calculation. Run. Run tells the computer to run the program. That is, do the calculation when it's been given two numbers to add. Ready. The computer is ready, so we can put in our first number. 7, return key. 15, return key, and immediately we get the answer 22. As the program doesn't specify particular numbers, we can use it to add together any two numbers we choose. While it helps to understand how the computer works, it isn't always necessary, for we can still enjoy the fruits of the technology, like playing a game of chess on this computer designed by Texas Instruments. Computers can help us to learn too. In this example, you have to indicate the verb in the sentence, the man and boy walked home. Move the cursor until it rests under your chosen word. Walked, and see if you're correct. In this exercise, you have to identify the adjective. Green peas. When you think you've worked it out, type in the answer. If it's right, you'll get a tune. Two servings of beans. The adjective is TWO. Two. Computers are particularly good at doing boring, repetitive work quickly. Here's a job that the computer is ideally suited for, preparing thousands of gas bills. The process begins with the meter reader checking how much gas a household has used, in this case 1,199.2 therms, and writing the amount onto a form, which is then returned to the gas board's local headquarters. At headquarters, all the information about the household's consumption is entered into the computer. There's that meter reading going in now, 1199. Information for all the bills in the area is entered in the same way and stored on tape until ready to be transferred to the computer. The tape is then taken to the main processing room where it's loaded into the computer. The computer's now ready to start ploughing through each household's consumption. It takes away the previous meter reading from the present meter reading to calculate the gas consumption. It then calculates how much each householder must pay, and having done that, instructs the bill printer to begin making out the accounts and addressing them. The bills are printed on a continuous roll, and each bill takes only a fraction of a second to complete. The next stage is to separate the bills and place each completed account into its own envelope so that it can be sent back to the householder for payment. Along with the computer's considerable ability to do rapid calculations, its other great feature is its memory. This is Airedale Hospital in Yorkshire, where some doctors, working with abdominal cases, are taking full advantage of the computer's memorising ability.
Is there anything that makes the pain worse or better?
There's no question of the computer doing the doctor's job or making decisions for him. The only slight difference an alert patient might spot is the form the doctor's filling in as he asks the questions. Otherwise, it's a straightforward doctor-patient consultation.
Was it in the same place as you're showing me now when it started?
More or less, it was more general.
It was more general.
I asked Mr. Archie McAdam, surgeon at Airedale Hospital, why has the form helped?
Whereas previously we relied on our memories to fill in the form and to collect the things that we thought were important, the form has really allowed us to collect data properly and correctly, and therefore base our judgment on a large number of items of data. The data that the doctor's entered is coded into numbers by the computer operator, and then she types these numbers into the computer, and the computer, on the data that the doctor's collected, makes a judgment about what are the probabilities that the patient has one of several acute abdominal conditions. He usually has made a provisional diagnosis, and he'll very likely make his judgment about the patient on the diagnosis that he's already made. But he'd like the computer's opinion about what he thinks the patient has. The computer's function here is like the function of a blood test or any other test in hospital. It's used as a test to try to support the diagnosis that the doctor's made or produce other ideas that the doctor might consider.
Although this system is being used at Airedale Hospital, it was in fact devised by Tim de Domble, reader in Clinical Information Science at Leeds University. He suggests that the computer, along with its ability to store complete case histories, can make a useful contribution, in the right hands, to medical decision-making. Mr. McAdam, just how effective is it?
The overall effectiveness in diagnosing patients of a doctor, aided by the system, has improved the accuracy of the diagnosis and therefore the handling of the patient.
Well, we spent this lesson going with the speed of light almost, like Doctor Who, travelling from using wood to communicate, dipping that in ink and writing, to using a typewriter, we can all understand how that is used, to having a look at the computer and its implications. So that you can learn a little bit more about the computer and its uses, I've asked Mr. Quarton, who's an expert on this, to come in and talk to you about it. So I'll hand over to you, Mr. Quarton, please, to talk to the group.
Right. This is a microcomputer.
While there are government plans to get computers into every classroom, the scheme may take some time, and there are other problems. This is the headquarters of ASTMS, a union with a strong interest in the shape of the future. But Barry Sherman, co-author of The Collapse of Work, explains how we should be preparing ourselves now.
That you really must start to get into teaching about computers and information. Because when people go out into the world, and certainly if not now, then in 4, 5, 10 years' time, they're going to be confronted with all the information systems being geared around computers, around word processors. The two will go together. There will be machinery that children will never have seen in their lives, and they have to learn all over again when they go to work. And it doesn't matter if they're on the factory floor, or a local authority, or in a shop, those particular bits of equipment will be there, and they've got no chance at the moment. And the same actually applies to the teachers. You're going to have to teach the teachers before you can expect those teachers to teach the children.
In the next programme, we'll be looking at computers in the classroom.